think Trump's idea is a fantastic idea. It's a genius idea. You know, this is Gaza been a source of, it's been the inspiration for terrorism and terrorist organisations for the past 50 years. So, you know, you need a radical idea, and you can't let it continue next to Israel anymore.
So if there are terrorists in an area, that area becomes ripe for being seized by force by another country.
Yeah, but
is that what you're saying?
It's been the source of terrorism and inspiration for terrorist organisations for the past 50 years, all over the world. You can't let it continue. You need to shut it down.
What do you mean all over the world? What do you mean all over the world?
All the terrorist organisations around the world, ISIS, Islamic State, their inspiration is the terrorism from that area.
What,
yeah?
David, I mean, it's just not the case.
Yes,
what, you think all the world's terrorists are inspired by
they're
Gaza?
Inspired by Palestine and what's happened there.
David,
and the terrorism from that area. It needs to be shut down and cleared and start again.
What are you basing that on? That ISIS are inspired by Gaza?
Your idea? Where do you think terrorism comes from? That a lot of it is based from that area. It comes from that area.
What area? Gaza specifically?
From Gaza, from the Palestine.
So all the terrorists in the world are trying to just copy what's happening in Gaza?
Well, they're inspired by the Palestine problem and
inspired how?
There. So you need to start again. You can't let it continue next to Israel.
Right.
You can't let it carry on forever.
In its current form, I agree. But that doesn't mean it should just be seized by force by the United States.
Well, it's not going to be seized by force. I mean, you know...
it's not going to be handed over voluntarily, so it would have to be.
Hamas isn't going to go away, so they need to be cleared out.
Yes.
You can resettle the people all over the world.
But they don't want to be resettled, David. Do you realise that you are calling a national radio station to advocate for ethnic cleansing?
Well, it's not ethnic cleansing.
Of course
you can't let the problem continue.
David, do you know what ethnic cleansing is?
Do you know what a war is?
Do you know what ethnic cleansing is?
No, what is a war?
No, David, you answer my question, I'll answer yours.
Fundamental question.
No, David, do you understand what ethnic cleansing is? Do you know what it is?
You tell me what it is. What is it?
It's the forcible removal of people from their land.
So you've got a terrorist state. What do you do with a terrorist state?
So do you accept that what you're calling for is ethnic cleansing?
What? No, you need.
Why not? Why is it not ethnic cleansing?
How do you deal with a terrorist
David,
state?
you're shouting the same things at me. Come on, I'm asking you about ethnic cleansing.
You don't want to acknowledge it's a terrorist state.
Of course Hamas is a terrorist group. Of course, David, please stop shouting at me.
Well, for starters, I got it almost on the day we got locked down.
March the 23rd.
And I was admitted into hospital. Actually, on the 17th.
Okay.
I spent 3 months in hospital.
Did you?
3 weeks in a coma.
Awful.
And hallucinated the rest of the time, which was interesting.
Right.
And so when I come out, I was in the unique position of not really knowing what had been going on. I thought he'd done a really good job.
Right. You thought you'd done it. So now you think? May I ask you, what do you think now?
I still think he's. I mean, if it wasn't for Boris Johnson, I'd be dead. Basically, I mean, I was on a life support. The resources that went into keeping me alive, I just don't get it. I'll never be able to pay it back. I think it's a shame that some of the careers have been finished for sort of what I think were kind of minor indiscretions, like Matt Hancock being caught in a cupboard. I mean, how could that happen?
Well, because there was a camera on him.
And it got leaked out to the press. I mean, what if it had been a special kind of bit of information? It was. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, the whole thing. But it wasn't a special bit of information. It was a government minister, secretary, behaving as a total ass.
Yeah,
now,
I know. But
what about you, sir? Did you get the job back, or have you never been able to work, or what's the situation regarding your employment?
So I own a gym, and I own a gym, and it was shut for 10 months.
Were you given furlough? What happened?
I was given furlough. I just sat around for 10 months waiting. People were ringing me up, can you open up? We're going crazy. I said, I can't do it. 5 years later, my gym's going really well. It was like it never really happened, personally. I had to reopen 3 times.
So the business has bounced back?
It always did, yeah.
Lastly, I can hear in your voice you have considerable praise for Boris Johnson. When you saw how his end came to pass and how so many turned on him, what was your reaction, Dominic?
I thought it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Obviously, it's just how the kind of media like to have a fall guy. I mean, imagine if Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner were running the country through COVID.
Well, I asked an earlier caller that. How do you think we'd fare now? God forbid.
Oh, I mean, it'd be unbelievable. I mean, actually, I've never seen anything like it at the moment. I mean, my gym is like a little microcosm of society, and the stuff that's coming through it at the moment is like, what's going on?
Well, I'm intrigued. In a sentence, what do you mean the stuff? What's coming through? What, people losing their jobs? Or
well, things like people are a bit worried. People don't know whether to take. I mean, I've got quite a few people that run businesses. They're anxious about taking people on with the rise in national insurance, the basic wage, all this sort of stuff. How much more can the basic wage go up?
I think the guy you just read out just now, I think 14 years sums it up. I think the fact that... Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, James. Go on.
Yeah. I think the fact that they've had 14 years, Ali, and to work out what they're going to do, and you say, what does Starmer stand for? I think he stands for nothing. I think his main objection was to become Prime Minister. And that's why he never at all answered any of the questions during the election about what taxes he was going to raise, how was he going to get growth, because he knew that he didn't know what he was going to do. And he's got a chancellor, as Michael O'Leary said last night on Sky News, who hasn't got a clue, who is accused, not unfairly, of being Rachel from accounts. She's had no experience as an economist anywhere. None whatsoever.
She was at the Bank of England, though, James. Come on, she was at the Bank of England, and I think
but she wasn't a senior economist.
Okay,
there, was she?
Fine, but she did work at the Bank of England. She's as qualified as anyone else, and she's also supported by the best and brightest of the civil service, as we understand, in the Treasury.
Well, she may well be supported by them. That's their job to support her,
of course,
as the Chancellor's Exchequer. But I think, Ali, that he. After 14 years of Conservative rule, and whereas Donald Trump, as much as you may decry him and you may not agree with his policies, at least he's given America hope as to what he's going to do for America. And Starmer gets in and he hits the farmers, he hits the pensioners, he hits big business, he hits employers. You know, what positivity is there in this?
But James, he's got 6 milestones, he's got 5 missions. What else do you want from the man?
Yeah, well, Ali, I think it's the vagaries of our voting system that somebody who got less votes than Jeremy Corbyn has got a landslide election. And the majority of people in this country didn't vote for the man. And I think he should take that into consideration. He's meant to be the Prime Minister of everybody.
Yep.
And he is the Prime Minister of a very few. And I think that's why I think he will never recover from this. And I think that it's the inadequacy of Kelly Badenoch.
Okay.
And she's not achieving more.
I heard the man, the advisor. I think he was a reform advisor. Former advisor. I heard him talk about immigration as a cause of the disaffection of people. I've heard him talk about net zero. I've heard him talk about the very high cost of energy in this country. But what I haven't heard him talk about, nor indeed have I heard any of the parties talk about, what for me is probably the major factor in why people are quite rightly very angry with all hues of parties because they aren't delivering. And one of the things is, for me, inequality. We are the 9th most wealth and income unequal country out of the 38 OECD countries. The top 20% of people, earners, last year earned 36%. No, not last year. I think it's 2021, and it's got worse. 36% of income compared to 8% of the lowest 20%. And listen to this: 63% of wealth, and that is far more important than income if you're talking about inequality. Whereas the bottom 20%, guess what? 0.5% of the country's wealth. So no wonder things are, people are angry, but to my mind, they're angry but with the wrong people. You could sort out immigration, which, by the way, I think last week some report came out to say it was the only mitigating factor against the loss in GDP caused by Brexit was immigration.
Yeah, it might have been well worse. Good point.
Exactly. So you could you could stop immigration. You could stop net zero. My God, would that be short-term thinking? You could do something about energy prices. Hopefully not drill, but maybe nuclear. Yes, you could do all those things. But until you stop the very wealthiest people grabbing most of the wealth and it not being redistributed, fine, you can make as much money as you like. But you've got to have some redistribution. We should have a wealth tax, not on income. Income tax, nothing, peanuts. We're talking about assets. That's where that's where compared to assets, compared to what wealth is held in assets.
Yes, absolutely. There's a difference between assets
which is
and
driving up.
I understand.
Driving up
But
property
Barbara,
prices.
can I just put this? You make your point very well about wealth distribution. But I wonder whether, and it is an issue, and I'm granted, yes, I agree it is a problem. But the bigger question is how you create the wealth.
Yes, I'm in an open relationship with my boyfriend. I've been with him for 10 years, and we've got a house together, and we just enjoy sex, and we enjoy it a lot. That we will do it with other people. I think it first starts off when we started inviting someone into the bedroom, another person, and then it just sort of tailed off from there where, like, well, we can do this by ourselves as well, whilst he's in work, and whilst I'm in work, and it's easy. It's so easy to do with the internet, the apps out there. I mean, I drive HGV, and throughout the night, I don't do anything whilst at work, of course, but throughout the night, my phone will be buzzing, because the app will be active in the background and people will see my profile going through their areas. It's just so easy to do.
Sounds exciting, Carl.
Sounds very exciting because I love my boyfriend to pieces, but there's things that he can't do that would satisfy me, and vice versa. There's things that I won't do which will satisfy him, but there's people out there who would do that would satisfy. And you got to ask the question as well: what's the difference of being with yourself when your boyfriend's at work or your girlfriend's at work?
I was thinking about this a minute ago. No one person can ever satisfy all of our needs. I think that's probably, I think we probably all agree on that. Part of me, tell me what you think of this, but part of me thinks there's something romantic about accepting that actually, this person isn't perfect in every way. They don't fulfill every single need I have, but I am choosing them and committing to them, and I am going to sort of sacrifice those other needs in order to commit to this one person. I don't know. Part of me sort of thinks there's something quite meaningful and deep in that. Whereas this idea of just like turning elsewhere to get all your needs met by as many people as you need, I don't know. I don't know what I think about it.
I think it's very traditional. And I think with most things now in this modern day, traditions are changing.
Yes.
You can see that with religion, with marriage, with what we're talking about right now. I think traditions are changing, and the younger generation, I'm 35, so I think I'm a millennial. We're changing. We've seen, it sort of ties in with what you were discussing the last hour, we've seen more than what our grandparents have seen on the internet.
Yes.
And I think that influences this as well, because we see different. I'm trying to be PC with the radio, but we've seen different techniques.
Yes. But there's also more of I think people also, Carl, aren't they, today are more kind of go-getting. There's more of a sense of having broader horizons. There's less of a kind of tendency to just settle for something that perhaps isn't everything that you thought of want. And I don't know, maybe I'm just traditional, but I think there is something maybe valuable in saying, actually, this person doesn't meet all my needs, but that's okay.
I don't know as well if it's different with us being in the gay world or in the straight world.
Do you think it's more common in the LGBT community?
I think so, because there's again, I'm trying to be as subtle as possible, but there's different looks, there's different sizes, everything's different on different people. And
but that's true in heterosexual relationships as well, isn't it? I guess.
Probably, yeah, especially for girls as well.
Do you ever feel guilty? Do you ever, when you're with somebody who's not your partner? Do you ever feel like you're cheating?
I don't feel like I'm cheating. When we first started doing it, it felt weird. It was like, I love my partner, yet I've just had sex with someone else. But now it sounds so harsh, but it's like second nature.
No,
it's like
you've adapted to it. Sure.
He'll go to work tomorrow, and if I want to satisfy myself, I'll just go on the app and see who's about in the local area, and there's
usually not sport for choice. And will you tell him about it? Are you completely open about it?
Yeah, I tell him about it, and and completely open, and sometimes he gets satisfaction out of that as well.
And he's doing the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he comes home one night and says, I got this great hookup with somebody else last night, and you don't feel any envy or jealousy or inferiority or anything?
No, because when we do it together, it's different. It's passionate. It's love.
Right.
When we do it with other people, it's not love.
So you're getting something from him that you're not getting from other people, and therefore it's still unique and special. What happens if you start? I mean, what happens when it sort of develops into something more emotional and you start developing feelings for somebody? There
was one person who I sort of developed a bit of feelings for, and I stopped seeing that person straight away. So it's like that was a boundary.
Is that because then it becomes more complicated?
Yeah.
If it's just casual,
we've always had boundaries and rules within it, and if you start getting a bit getting feelings for the person, that person has to end, because there are regular people we see.
But Kyle, why? Because if you're sort of, the logic is, well, actually, other people can give me something that my one sort of long-term partner can't, then why should that only apply to kind of sexual desires? What about emotional? If you can get something emotionally from somebody else that perhaps you don't necessarily get from your partner in the same way, then why draw that? Do you see what I mean? Why draw that distinction?
Good question.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's whatever works for you. I'm interested.
I just think I think that's stepping over the boundary of what trust and love is.
Right.
Sex is sex.
Right.
That's it. Sex with my boyfriend is different, and I love my boyfriend. I don't love the people that I have sex with.